And then when my character lands, so this is not necessarily my contact point. It could be the heel contact point, but it's not actually the foot down contact point. So that's what we do next. Where the foot plants here, you don't necessarily have to have this one come down at the same time. So in this next key position, you don't have to have both feet down at the same time. You could do a 1-2. Right? So this one could be our contact point for the foot with the bent knee position here. So we have to follow our overall path of action here. That's where my butt would be. Like that. Actually, I'll shift it over here because this leg here still has to be. So it could be like that, and then on the next drawing, which would be my next in between, that's where I put the other foot down. Okay. The arms act exactly the same way the tail would act on your double ball bounce. As it comes in, you have to follow the path of action that's been created by the shoulders, because that's the leading part. Okay, if we treat this as a double ball bounce with the tail, here's the ball that's attached to the tail. And where this ball, the shoulder joint, goes, that's where your arm has to follow through on that path of action. It can't go anywhere else, right? So in this drawing here, I can't stick my arm out here. It would look weird. I also can't stick it in here, because that could look weird, unless I do a bend on it. And that's where we get into the pendulum swing theory, where you have to lead and pull. Okay, so something's going to have to drag here. So you could do this position here, going from here to here. There's my path of action now on the hand, and that would dictate that the hands now have to follow a different path of action, kicking out in front. Okay, so it's all cause and effect. What's going to happen next, and why is it happening? Is it logical? Does it make sense, and is it following the path of action? Every drawing you do will dictate what the next drawing does, essentially. So, in essence, when you have your character jumping up this high, it will automatically dictate all the following action, right? So now your character, when they cushion and hit their low point here, they have to hit a fairly good low point. They can't just stop. They can't just go to that position there. That's too stiff. Clunk. Okay? It doesn't make sense to be in that position because all the momentum that was built up and the path of action and the distance that the character traveled, that does not make for a logical conclusion to that overall path of action. It's going to look like the character stuck to the ground and for whatever reason, some force stopped them from moving forward. Okay? Too much energy has been built up and thrown in that direction. That no, that doesn't make sense and it wouldn't work. So we've got to carry this through to its logical conclusion. And I've seen this in the jump up and down, where I've seen a lot of people have their character jump up a certain height, and then the recovery is like, what the heck is that? There's no recovery at all. It's like, big jump here, and then, burn, like that. Can't do that. Okay? It doesn't follow through. So, if you want to, the other thing that I'll allow you to do is if you want to, you can do a staggered foot position where this foot comes slightly forward. Okay? And if you really want to get fancy, is you can have the other foot step forward after that. Okay, so it's like a step, step, step. Okay? It's not any more difficult. Same number of drawings to the whole thing. It's just what are you going to do with the different parts of the body to make it get to that position. So now, as we get into this stage of the drawing here, it's simply a matter of working up from that structure. How long are your legs? So you don't want to make them too long. And you don't want to make them too short. So even though you're compressing them, don't compress them so much that they lose their volume. So now in this one, here's where my head is still trailing. I've got my compression point here. I'm going to bring my arms forward. And now I'm at the point where I'm pretty much straight ahead animating to a certain extent. I'm just sort of going with the flow. The juices are flowing in my animation veins and I just want to go through the action and play it out. So I'm not necessarily going to my broad keys here. I'm just playing with it now, okay? And just doing a what happens next scenario. So you'll find that this will happen to you quite often. So here I'm going to play this forward so that this part of the leg here compresses down, but this part here is going to overlap over, so his hips are going to come forward in this drawing. And now I'm going to do my seaweed action, where my upper torso comes over, because the momentum of it is being thrust forward. Here's where I have to be careful that I don't run out of space. I may have to tack on some extra paper onto this. But my arms are now going to come down and forward. Might put a little bit of a loop on it like this. And now I've got to catch myself and recover. So what I want to do is keep this foot planted, start to straighten the leg out, and maybe bring this foot up to take that one little step forward. But I think my hips are in the wrong position there. Yeah, I need to bring this back here. So I'm going to take my hips up, and my body's going to go over here. Yeah, I've lost space here, so my head's going to go reversing direction like this. So my hips are coming back and up, my head's going down. So this is my reversal drawing, where I go into my S curve out of my C curve. So I probably snap my arms forward here. There's my whip crack. See the line of action running through the body here? Okay, so now I've got to reverse that curve on the overall body, and here's on the seaweed action, this is where everything snaps over now. So I've just put my foot forward here, I've got to plant that foot down, so this is sort of like a walking action. And I know my character is shrinking, so I'm going to have to come back and fix this. I'm just going to advance this forward here. Snap the head right over and start to bring the shoulders back. Do a little bit of an S curve in the arm there. And actually that would go the opposite way, sorry. Okay, so next I'm going to just do a little cushion here, foot down. I got some major shrinkage taking place here. And I'm going to start to curl the body back up here. I'm just blocking this out really quickly just to give you a sense of how this overall is going to look. So I'm going to start to straighten the leg here. I wasn't anticipating this step forward thing. Oh, man, my hips are really shrinking there. These are starting to look really super ugly. I apologize completely. And I'll finally plant my legs. I'm not drunk. Don't. And then what you do is you just sort of put the body over here somewhere like that, and you just let it happen, man. It all just comes out. Let the animation fairies worry about it at the end. They'll take care of it all for you. And I want to recover just a little bit forward here. Reverse the curve on the body. And then I get into my settle position because now my legs are straight. I want to do a little bit of a buckle because gravity's going to win. Reverse the curve on my arms, and then I'd have to come into a final settle position. As you can see, I'm swinging the arms forward. So then I just lock out the legs, trace back the legs, maybe finish a little bit of a reversal action here where I just kick the butt out a little bit, bring the upper body forward, and settle my arms into a forward final position. That would be my final key. So, nice stack of drawings here. Let's just take a look and see the magic. Okay, so you get the general idea there, just in a really broad, ugly, rough form of what I want to do. That just goes to show you how, you can start off with a drawing looking nice and pretty at the beginning, or somewhat pretty at the beginning. So you start off with this and you end up with that at the very end. There's a big contrast between the two of them as far as the overall quality goes. But that's basically what happens. Like I said, as soon as the juices start flowing and you get into it, you start minimizing your character, and you're basically just going with lines of action through the whole thing. And you just want to get it out as quickly as possible. So I don't know how long that took. It might have taken, what, 10, 15 minutes to do the whole thing. Now I can shoot a pencil test, get a sense of whether it's working or not, time the whole thing out, block it out as far as the timing. I can go back in, I can redraw some of these drawings. Obviously I'd have to, in order to get the character back on the model and proportion and whatnot. But I can even scrap some of them. If I find that something isn't working in my pencil test, it's not quite the right pose, I'll just throw it out and do up a really quick new one. Pencil test it again. Okay, so it's this continually evolving, honing, chiseling away at a piece of marble. So it's really, really rough and crude at the beginning. You start chiseling more and more, chipping away, until finally you reveal that beautiful statue that's been hidden inside that you always wanted. And that's your process of going through cleanup and all that. Okay, but I'm not asking you to clean this up. Okay, keep it loose and rough, but not that rough. I mean, tighten them back up to the point where your drawings are more at this stage here. Okay, where they're just a little bit tighter. Okay, so if you want to do that over top of the original drawing, you can. Like when I showed you the descending energy ball bounce drawings here. Okay, so this is what my drawings look like at the end, as far as the roughness goes. Here they are in the middle. They pretty much still look the same. So you can see the basic ball to start off with, but when I go to this stage here, this drawing here, this is based on, the original rough. So you can see the loose ball in here and the basic shape that comes off of it. So all I've done is I've just gone in and I've erased down some of the rough, crude lines that I did. So this is still my really rough stage. I would still go back over top of this and tighten it up with a cleanup in order to get the final version of it. Same thing with this one here. You can see this one's even rougher. Okay. So I'd still go back and erase some stuff down to get rid of some of the primary lines that were in there, but just sort of blocking up. But again, I'm not asking you to go to this stage here, but it's just part of the building up process. Nothing goes, like when I do my original keys, when I'm planning out an action, I would never draw something like this at this stage for the very first run through. It would just be the basic shapes back to what I'm doing here, or this drawing here. That's what they would look like. Then once I'm happy with the action, I can go back and start to tighten it up, right? So there might be 3 or 4, even 5 passes to the whole thing.